We're really happy to win the game at Baylor this weekend. You've got to give Baylor credit. They played well. It was a hot and windy day, and but it's also good for the 10th straight year to be bowl eligible. People sometimes take that for granted. If we're not careful, we take it for granted. It's an early season goal for us, and we'd like to have it in the first 6 games, and this year it took us 8. But it's something that we're very proud of. In fact, these kids have broken a record for the 10th straight bowl. We have only had 9 in our past at one time between 77 and 78. And winning's what you have to do now, and it is enough to win on Saturday, but when you come home, you'd like to play consistently good every week and then have some great weekends. And we can talk more about that, but we're really, really pleased to have won the game. You go back to explosive plays. We've been a really explosive offense. We had 12 explosives on Saturday to Baylor's 3, and that means a run over 12 and a pass over 16 yards. And this is the most explosive team we've had other than the national championship team in 2005 since we've been here. So we've talked about all the things this offense hasn't done well, and we'll continue to try to improve those things, but we do need to give them credit because they have been so explosive. They've overcome some long yardage situations and done well. Turnovers gained and lost. We gained 4 and we lost 3. So the great thing is our defense now is forcing turnovers, and they've done a tremendous job the last 2 weeks of forcing them. The negative is we gave up 3. We still won those 2 phases, and when we do, we're 59-0 with winning the explosive plays and turnovers gained. And our kicking game we thought was okay. It was better than theirs. We ended up winning 2 of the 3 phases in the kicking game, but there's some areas there that we need to improve. And we had some missed opportunities in the turnovers on offense, but we also felt like we had too many penalties. Defensively, our defensive staff gave Baylor a lot of different looks, especially with the new quarterback, and we felt like that the multiple defensive back substitutions helped us to confuse. We did get a lot of pressure on the passer. We didn't get as many sacks as we wanted, but they were getting the ball out of their hands quickly and threw a lot of underneath routes. They didn't throw the ball deep very much, and it's hard to sack the guy if he gets it out of his hands fast. Had 4 interceptions, which ties the 4 that we had in 2002 in the OU game. Deion Beasley's gotten an interception each of the last 2 weeks, and really proud of Marcus Griffin with his 2 interceptions, and the 91-yarder for a touchdown was the longest one we've had in the last 70 years. Jack Collins had a 95-yard return against Baylor in 1936, and it's the 3rd longest in school history. So good for Marcus, and he's a local young man and really proud. The guys were beating him up about not being able to run fast to get there. I thought he looked pretty fast to me, so I didn't see any of those that were talking about his lack of speed in the picture when he was running, so I don't know where they were, but I was proud for Marcus. We held them to 8 yards rushing. They didn't try to run the ball a lot, but when they did, we did a good job of stepping up and stopping the run, and we felt like we played really good sudden change defense except for the one opportunity that we're going in to score, and the ball's fumbled. They run it back down to about the 30, and Colt and Vondrell McGee did an outstanding job of running their defensive back down and keeping them from scoring, but we had an all-out blitz the next play, and they hit us on a tunnel screen and scored very easily, and that was the only time that they got points after the turnover. It is good for us to score on defense, and in the kicking game, obviously, we've had 57 non-offensive touchdowns since '99, and that ranks 4th behind Virginia Tech that's had 63, Miami 60, and Kansas State 58. Offensively, as we said, we're really doing a good job with explosive plays, and that's something that we need to continue to do. Our receivers, our running backs had some explosive runs in the first half. I think there was a 16-yard run, which is good for us. We're doing a great job with our short yardage and goal line running. Derek Lokey makes such a difference for us in that set, and that's really, really helping us. And Vondrell McGee weighs 208 pounds, so when you've got Chris Obanai at 225, Derek Lokey at 295, and you start looking at Vondrell coming up in there at 208, it can move the ball forward. Our concern is, and we ran the ball really well in the first half. Our concern is that we're having too many negative plays in the running game, where We're having some lost yardage plays. We're having too many 1 yard, 2 yard runs that make us 2nd and 9 and 2nd and 8. And we felt like in the second half in the running game we didn't have enough patience, and we ran sideways too much when we needed to go north and south, and probably trying to score too quickly. And after you score 56 against Iowa State and you come back the next week and everybody's expecting you to score 56 against Baylor, you worry more about how many you're going to score instead of winning the game. And we've got to grow up and understand it's more important for us to go back and win football games instead of look pretty all the time, and have more patience. But as I said, they overcame a couple of long yardage situations, which is really good, and it's hard to do. So we need to continue to improve our north-south running game out in the field. We had too many missed opportunities. We missed a field goal, gave away 3 points right before the half, where we had maybe the best drive of the day. Colt just took us and led us right down the field for a field goal with the wind, and we felt like we had an opportunity, and it went out wide right. We tried to fake a field goal because of the heavy wind in our face early, and there was an offensive or defensive pass interference call that was taken off. And then the other opportunity, because we gave away 10 points in the first half, was the 4th and 1, where we get the pitch, and it ends up not only costing us 7, but they get 7 out of it, so it's a 14-point swing. So we felt like that we should have been up 20-7 at halftime if we just do what was available to us. And we said we're putting the ball on the ground too many times, whether it's with turnovers, whether it's fumbles or interceptions, and that makes the difference in your season. We're also asking Colt to do a lot more than he did last year, and we're putting a lot more pressure on him just by throwing the ball more. So we've got to have some help in the running game out in the field to take some of that pressure off of him. In the second half, at one stretch, he hit 10 of 11 passes for 143 yards. He hit 7 in a row. He's playing his heart out, and he's playing tough, and we like the fact that he's running so much better than he was before, and we think that's something we can even utilize more. It was a great play from Colt to Jamal down the sideline. It was a super receiver catch, as good a catch as I think I've ever seen, getting both feet inbounds and at a point in the game that it really mattered. So we're really proud of Jamal making that catch, and it was an outstanding throw. Also proud of the Storm offense. They came in, the second-team offense, and if you look at John Childs is 203 pounds and Vondrell's 208, and those guys drove it right down and got 3 points, and we wish we could have gotten them back in the game, but they continue to improve. We've just got to get John to throw the ball more when he has opportunities in the game, because he's throwing it well in practice, and it's not showing up yet in the games, and we think it will. The kicking game, we said our punting game has been inconsistent as a group. It hasn't been good enough, and we need to continue to work on it. The wind was a factor on Saturday, but it's there, and it's real, and it's part of football, and you have to handle the wind. And we've been inconsistent on our punt blocks this year and our returns, so we're not getting the points out of those areas that we have in our past, and we need to do a better job. The fake punt was good. It was key. The kids did a good job with it, and Rashad's done an outstanding job over his time here of running the fake punt. He's so low to the ground. We said we missed a field goal, and we missed a fake field goal in the kicking game, which really hurts you. That's 2 fourth downs, so those that you didn't convert, so that's like turnovers. And then our kickoff coverage was really good, and Hunter had 2 touchbacks with the wind that helped us as well. When I was a young coach, I went to Iowa State, and the primary reason was to coach against Coach Osborne at Nebraska and Coach Switzer at Oklahoma in the Big 8, because I wanted to see what they were doing as a young coach to win so many games. So I've always had great respect for the University of Nebraska. When Texas and Nebraska meet, it's two of the top four teams in all-time wins in the history of college football. That's always really exciting. This is one of the games I look forward to, and I wish we had an opportunity to play them each year because it's such a fun game. But with them in the North, we do have it every 2 years. But you go back, there's been 5 national titles at Nebraska and 4 at Texas. Bowl appearances, 44 at Nebraska, 46 at Texas. Bowl victories, 22 at Nebraska, 23 at Texas. Heisman Trophy winners, 3 at Nebraska and 2 at Texas. Top 5 AP finishes, 13 at Nebraska and 18 at Texas. So it's just been you look at the 2 programs, they're very proud. They're 2 programs that really love their football. Both teams sell out every week, and it's just been amazing to watch the games between our 2 teams. You go back to last year's game, 22-20 was one of the best games that I've ever been associated with, and that's the same Nebraska team that will come in here this weekend. Our seniors only have 2 home games left. We were not pleased the way we finished the last one against Kansas State, so it'll be really important for them to have 2 good performances against Nebraska and Texas Tech here for the weekend. Bill Callahan kind of grew up around John Gruden in the NFL. He's a really good friend of Tim Brewster's, and that's my only connection with Bill. You go back and look at the fact that he took over the Raiders and went to the Super Bowl, so he obviously knows what he's doing when he was out there. Their running back coach, Randy Jordan, played for us at the University of North Carolina, and he's a great friend of our family, and he and his wife are very dear to us and very close to us. Sam Keller's doing a great job at quarterback. He had 275 yards passing this weekend. We expect Nebraska to come in and play really well. They've had the problem that we've had this year, and it's turnovers. And that's if you go back and study it, they're having more turnovers than they're gaining, and that's what we've been doing. And you look at Kansas's plus 10 in turnovers, you look at A&M's plus 10 in turnovers, and that's a huge part of this ball game. And you got to protect the ball, and you got to knock some balls loose. Questions?
Coach, last week A&M ran the ball 66 times, and McGee ran it 35 times. Do you go into effect, or when you game plan, look at that, look at what happened to Nebraska last week and the ball control that A&M employed?
Well, we're not running it that good right now, so we got to improve our running game, but we haven't run it 66 times probably in the last 2 games. So no was the answer.
Thank you.
I'd like to run it better. What else?
Do you have hopes, though, that because Nebraska's been so weak running the ball, they're like 115, I think it is, nationally.
I don't know.
Is that a way to get your running game on track?
Yeah, well, you go back to some of that. SC ran for a whole lot of yards against them. Some of the times you go back and look at stats and you try to figure out who they've played, because you can. It sounds really cool for me to sit here and say we helped Baylor to 8 yards rushing. They only ran it 18 times. So I mean it's not like playing A&M and holding them to 8 yards rushing. So I think part of that, A&M's a running football team right now that throws it some as well, but they line up with Jaworski Lane and they run the football really well. They had the same thing against us last year in the last ball game. And we're not running it as consistently well as we'd like to. So it's hard after 8 games to walk in and say, I tell you what, let's run it every time this week. I wish we could do that, but we can't. We got to be us.
Coach, you mentioned the history, obviously, behind Nebraska. Is it a little easier to get guys focused to play a 500 football team when it's Nebraska, when it's that group?
They won't even look at the record or all the stuff you all talk about all week. That won't even be there. They'll be excited about playing Nebraska. They're like their coaches. When you put those 2 helmets out on the field, we'll be excited to see that white helmet with that end when they run out on the field, and it's a good-looking football team. So this will be a real fun game for our kids and our coaches.
Coach, even though they've been blown out the last 3 games, everybody thought this would be a big game. So are you expecting a big environment? Most people from Nebraska bought their tickets and got hotels before the season even started.
Nebraska fans follow their team. They'll all be here. Our fans will be pumped. It will be a great game and a great environment. Can't wait. 2:30, ABC, ought to be fun.
They run basically the same defense they ran last year?
Yes.
So can you tell what the change is that they're doing so?
Oh, we're studying that now. You know, I think the A&M's running the ball well. Oklahoma State's really good on offense. Missouri's really good on offense. I mean, Missouri's averaging about 510 yards total offense against everybody. So it's and Oklahoma State's moving it against everybody. So I think some of it's the teams they've played the last couple of weeks. They're moving it really well, and we've got some of that coming up here. So we'll see how good we can stop it.
Is some of Nebraska's issue stopping the run, losing those big-time defensive linemen from last year?
They've got big, good-looking guys, so I don't know. We'll just have to continue to study it and see. What you do at Texas is you look at the best game they've played all year or the best 2 or 3 and figure that's the way they're going to play against you, and you throw out all the ones that you all talk about.
You talk about improving your guys' running game. What will you do this week to try to improve it?
I don't know. I think we're probably trying too hard. It's been over-discussed for 2 years, and you know, the first half, I think we had 135 yards rushing the first half, and we went north and south and did really well. And then I thought, again, the games with Baylor have not been close. And I thought our guys tried to catch up too fast probably, and we didn't have enough patience in the second half with our with some of the holes. There were some holes north and south, and we bounced, and we've got to go back and try to get the 4-yard runs again. And we've improved in offense. We're making the big plays. We're scoring a lot of points, but we just need to be more consistent. We went back. We've said that all year, and it's still not where it needs to be. So we've got to go back and make sure that everybody's doing their job. It's amazing how many times Saturday 10 guys did their job, one guy misses the block on a counter play, and we get no yards, and there's a huge hole, but the one guy missed his block. And that's what we tried to do yesterday with the film, is go back and show them that 10 guys did exactly what we needed done. We're in great shape to have a 15-yard gain, and we got one because you missed your block. And then the next time we go down the line to another guy, or maybe the back was too wide, so we've just got to go back and keep coaching.
Coach, will you talk about just how big Ryan Bailey's kick was last year and how he earned that starting job then because of that game?
Yeah, and a scholarship. That's a big kick for him. That's a money kick for him, boy. And Mom was in New York eating a burger, I think I heard, and she said, "Uh-oh, Ryan's standing next to Coach. What's going on here?" So that's it. So it's a great story. It's one of the best stories of our 10 years here, and he's a bright young man, a really good player that wasn't recruited because they didn't kick that much in high school. And after Greg Johnson pulled his muscle, we had him prepared to kick against Baylor, and then Greg was okay, so he kicked in the Baylor game. And the next week, I think Greg's leg really tightened up because it was so cold up there. And you start looking at signs around football games when that wind started blowing, the snow started blowing in his face, and we're down to a fourth quarter shot here with a guy who's never been on the field, much less kicked, going in to kick into a strong wind with snow blowing at Nebraska. You figure it's not good. And he, obviously, the story kicked it straight through, and it was a lot of fun for him and for us. And I really thought when we were trying to evaluate whether he should get a scholarship or not, that was such a huge game for us and gave us a chance to stay in the conference and national championship hunt at that time last year on the road, that kick alone would be worth a scholarship at the University of Texas if he never kicked again.
Coach, what have you taken away from your relationship with Tom Osborne? He's back in the fold on an interim basis. Talk about what you've taken in your career from the things he did at Nebraska.
Well, when we went to Iowa State, we tried to study everything they were doing. They were running the ball. They were being physical. They were running the option. They had the great kicking game. And as a young head coach, that was one of the places I thought that we would want to pattern our program after. I've always been a Nebraska fan because of him and because of who they are and what they've done. And, all of us growing up remember the Johnny Rogers run. And they're just there's so many great players in Nebraska history. I am hip, and you can go back through them and just run them off. And we all used to sit there on Saturday when TV was limited and watch Texas and watch Nebraska. And there were about 4 teams that played, and Nebraska was one of those. And then to always watch that game with Nebraska and OU was really special for all of us for many, many years. And then after I got through what we started at Iowa State, we started going back to visit Nebraska. And that's when we got to be friends with Frank Solich and Coach Osborne. And so we've patterned a lot of things we do after what Coach Osborne did for his 25, 30 years, whatever it was at Nebraska. And a lot of people across the country have done the same thing. I mean, he is to Nebraska what Coach Royal is to us. I mean, he's changed the scope of college football. He's one of the few people that has given back more to college football than he's taken away, just like Coach Royal. I mean, when people talk about Coach Royal, he started an offense that changed the way we think about college football in the running game with the wishbone. And how many people, I didn't start anything, trouble. That's about it, but I stir it up. But here's Coach Osborne's done the same thing. When we look at the Texas uniform, because of Coach Royal, we know exactly who it is if we don't even see the front. Same thing with Nebraska. If you look at the offense that Coach Royal ran and the defense that Coach Campbell had here, everybody that's a football fan can go back and talk about it today, and it's been 30 years. And everybody can tell you today, Mike Campbell was a man-to-man, straight up front, knocked their head off defense, and Coach Royal's going to run the wishbone. And he had that little quip about 3 things can happen when you pass it and 2 are bad, and he said he was kidding. And that thing got to be the most talked about quote that he'd ever had in his life, and Coach won his biggest games with passes. which people don't give him credit for. But you go back to Lincoln and Turner Gill and Tommy Frazier with the option in the mid-'90s when you win 3 national championships there in a row. Everybody knows who those players are. They know the system that was run there, and they just had a huge impact on college football.
Coach, talking about this current team at Nebraska, they have pieces on offense with Sam Keller and Marlon Lucky and Marius Purified at the receiver. Besides the turnovers, which are kind of plaguing them, what do you like about this offense? What are the things that you're going to have to study and look at?
Well, Bill Callahan's been a great offensive coach for years, and they move around and get mismatches with formation changes on you. So they're a very difficult offense to prepare for. And I thought all those players you mentioned are really good, and they've been known for their linemen for years. So they'll bring a great-looking offensive team that's been productive in here on Saturday. Sam Keller was a great player at Arizona State. Boy, Purify last year, he looked like he was 6'8" when he caught that ball against us and ran about 80 yards when we had 2 hit him, and he ran right through us. So he goes back and gives you the height mismatches that we were worried about up at Iowa State. And, you know, Baylor had Geddes, the number 4. So we've played against some tall receivers, and we'll have our shorter corners playing against him again this weekend.
You talked about great stories in this game. Go back to '98 in your first year here, and after losing on the road to UCLA and Kansas State, you go up there to Lincoln and get carried off the field. And your emotions from that game?
Well, it was. It'll be one of the moments when I get through that I'll look back and cherish. Not because of just what happened in the game, but the fact that Ricky Williams probably won the Heisman that day against the black shirt defense. The fact that I personally have so much respect for the University of Nebraska and their football program to go in there and win when we weren't supposed to be any good or not very good at that time, and to see those kids so excited, and after the game to be walking off after an ABC interview with Ricky Williams and all the Nebraska fans still in the stands at the end of the game, and the tunnel that you walk through of their fans is dangerous anywhere else except in Lincoln. But as we're walking off, I'll never forget, I told Ricky to put his helmet on because this could get rough walking through. And I'll never, ever forget the moment that they gave him a standing ovation and started a Heisman chant. And that's why I love the Nebraska fans, and I'll have respect for them as long as I'm alive and involved in football.
Don't you agree that game is one of the biggest building blocks you've had in your 10 years here?
Yes, there's no doubt because of the respect you have for Nebraska and how hard it is to play in Lincoln. I mean, that's 47 straight wins. Nobody's going to ever do that again, I don't think. And it's just we talk about parity. Nebraska separated themselves from everybody else with 47 straight wins at home. And again, the reaction that their fans and their coaches, I love Frank Solich. I mean, he's a great friend. The reaction that they had at a tough moment for them was one I'll remember for the rest of my life because they showed more class than I've ever seen in a stadium after a game that could have been really what was disappointing for them, but could have been a tough situation.
Coach Lucky was already talking about on Saturday how because of last year they're going to come in here and really want to beat y'all because of that game. Is that the rest of the team's maybe outlook going into this week?
It is, and this has become a rival game. It's an exciting time and game for us and for them, and I really believe it's the respect of the two programs. When you start looking at Michigan, Notre Dame, Texas, and Nebraska winning over 800 games and 100 years plus of football, that doesn't happen very often. So it's like playing the Michigan, SC, Ohio State out-of-conference games. Because they're in the North, we don't see them all the time. So our guys get excited about this, and it'll be a fun week to prepare.
Anything else? Okay, Coach.
Thanks folks.
Coach.